Like to invite none other than the Doyen of Ophthalmology, Indian Ophthalmology, Dr. Mahipal Sachdev, who is the Managing Director of the Center for Sight Group of Eye Hospitals, and he'll be talking on his experience of Collamer technology, 30 years of Collamer technology, delivering superior patient outcomes. All to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Sonu, for the kind words. It's a pleasure being here. Dr. Karan, Sonu, Vardhaman, Dr. Bharti. Well, I'll be just talking about as an overview of 30 years of Collamer technology, just to bring home to you that this particular technology has been around for 30 years. And I've had the fortune, or I would say it's been fortunate for me that I've been using it for about 25 years, started in 1999. Obviously, the numbers were low, but let's look at the evolution. The first implants globally were done in 1993. At that time, I still remember there were two implants. One was the ICL and the second was the PRL. I think PRL was by a company called SIBA. And that went into disrepute and the project was aborted because it would cut through the zonules, and there were 6, 7, 8 reports of the lens falling into the vitreous. But this lens has stood the test of time, and it received the CE mark for spherical ICL both for hyperopia and myopia in 1997. At that particular time, the changes were not there. You didn't have the V4 model, so doing a peripheral iridotomy was mandatory, whether it was myopic or hyperopic, which is there. US FDA approved it in 2005, and then went on for, say, the Vision. The V4 model then came in. Then you have the extended optics. So there is the new model which has a larger optic. And then you have the Viva, which has been launched in 2020. I have implanted some, which is the one which is the EDOF, or the lens which is also presbyopia correcting. So this has been the journey so far, the various landmarks for this particular lens which has been there. Just to show you that it's a simple lens material made of Collamer. There is no other company that is making with the similar material. So the lens has stood the test of time for biocompatibility. Within our circle, have not seen anybody saying that because of biocompatibility or recurrent reactions, etc., the lens needed to have been explanted. So therefore, it has stood the test of time. So this is a simple injector system that you do, and you can push it, and you can, the only thing is when you are pushing in the lens, you have to go parallel to the iris, and not like when you're putting an intraocular lens, you don't push it towards the optic nerve, and then you can dial it. I'll just show you in the next one. Nowadays, with the easy availability of Phenocaine, you can go ahead just maybe for one odd remote case to protect the lens, not dilate the pupil. The patient can come, and you can just go ahead and put the Phenocaine, as you can see. Because they are young individuals, they are not on something like, they are not diabetics, they are not normally on tamsulosin or anything. So you can achieve the same, the pupil dilatation on the table that you have. And you can go ahead and then with a fully dilated pupil at that particular time, you can go ahead and push in the lens, as you can see. So lens, as I was saying, you don't need to push it below the iris, because that way you could damage the normal crystalline lens. You want the lens to open softly, gently. I normally have the nozzle put. I don't want to make the incision as part of the injecting system. I would rather take the nozzle inside, because this prevents upside down unfolding of the lens. So now you can see that you have this plate haptic lens within the anterior chamber, and then you don't go over the optic, because the optic is reasonably thin. So you just go by the side of it and push in the 4 haptics into the proper place, and then you can align the lens. If it is a toric, you can see these are the marks which are there, so you align it. Now, you can use the intraop OCT to check on the vault. So you can see that this is the vault that you can check on the intraop OCT to see whether the lens has a proper vault or not. So it can help you by not leaving a big or a large or a small vault which is there. Now, the material obviously matters, though there are couple of lenses that are available. I don't know globally, but at least in India, there are 3 other companies who are manufacturing these lenses, but none of them have the polymer material. They are either the same material that was being used for the IOLs, or there may be some changes in the water content, etc. But basically, it's a hydrophilic material that they're using. So the polymer is actually collagen and a copolymer which is there. It does have a little bit of a porcine content in it. The polymer is an inert material and it offers UV protection and is one of the most biocompatible materials that are available. There is no inflammation, flare or cellular reaction that you see. Now, this is a study that has been done, 20 years of polymer in patient eyes, and what was found was that it was 1993 ICL was stable, biocompatible. A patient had developed the cataract, and if you see, there is nothing like a glistening or anything or any other thing that has happened post removal of the ICL. So no synechia, no bleeding. So the lens explantation was easy even after more than 20 years or 25 years of the lens in. Now this is the new design that you have. These are the various designs. So you have the larger optic zone and the smaller optic zone. So there are these holes, and this is the central 300 micron hole. You have 2 full thickness holes. So you have this now in hyperopic variety also. You have this with the larger optic, the toric variety and the non-toric variety. And you have the Viva also, which is there. The biggest breakthrough that came was to obviate the need of doing a peripheral iridotomy, and that was because there was a 300 micron hole that was there. We were all very apprehensive about it, that how is it going to affect the patient's vision at night time, etc., etc. But by far, we have seen, yes, the patients do complain to begin with, but it settles down in a couple of weeks and they no longer complain about it. And this obviously removes one extra step of doing a peripheral iridotomy, which is there. So this is how the lens lies, and this is how it stays there. Now, let us look at the safety, effectiveness, and the outcomes. What is the literature that is to say on this? And you can see these are the number of peer-reviewed publications which are there. So you can see in these cases, these are only from 2018 onwards. So you can see that this is reaching 6.6, and you can see that the safety index is very high. You can see that the efficacy index is very high. So it's 1 is supposed to be the best. So that is what you are looking at. If you are looking at the other data that is there with the central port, this is from 67 preclinical and clinical reports through October 2018. So you can see that these are the number of papers which have been published across. So there is a lot of data that is available, and there are lots and lots of surgeons who are using this. I don't know the number of surgeons, but the biggest advantage in the ICL is that you can use it even if you don't have a laser vision correction machine with you. You just need to be doing your cataracts, and the same things can be used. Now this you can see is the historical safety concerns, 147 eyes, 57, etc., Kamaya, Lisa, Shimizu, etc. So you can see follow-up of 1 to 5 years. This is to look at the endothelial cell loss. So if you look at the endothelial cell loss, there is very little endothelial cell loss. If you have done an atraumatic insertion of the lens and then post-op, there is almost equivalent to the normal cell loss that any person will have. So the central port and its ability to facilitate the flow of aqueous through the ICL has provided the safety to the procedure and helps minimize the potential risk associated with the low vault, because still there is a space and you have fluid, so low vault problem is not there. Now this is a new refractive surgery paradigm that is being this thing. So you have a comparison of evotoric, femtosecond LASIK and RELAX SMILE, and this is -3 to -8 that has been compared. The matched population comparison of visual outcomes and patient satisfaction between these 3 modalities, that is the KLAX, the LASIK and the ICL, all 3 groups were comparable in all parameters, that is UDVA, DCVA, spherical equivalent, etc. But the EVO had the highest safety efficacy, highest safety index, highest efficacy, safety, and no significant change in the endothelial this thing. When you're looking at further, you're looking that the toric ICL has demonstrated that post-operative dry eye was the least. That is as expected because you are doing at the limbus and it's only a 2.8 or a 3 millimeter incision versus a full flap, etc. There is a significant improvement in the higher order abrasions because you are not doing anything. It's an additive procedure. It's not a subtractive procedure. You are not taking away any corneal tissues. So you are not inducing any higher order abrasions, etc. that you induce even while making a flap. You just make a flap, put it back, you would have induced abrasions. So you are not doing anything, and patients reported excellent satisfaction with their quality of vision. Again, if you compare at low to moderate, the point is most of us or most of you sitting here still consider LASIK as the gold standard for low myopia. So there is this comparison that they have done when you are tackling these patients of low myopia. One thing was that you don't want to do a patient more than -8 or -10 with LASIK because you have to take away a lot of tissue. But supposing we were to consider this as the first choice for low myopia, how do we fare? So you can see that the number of side effects is very significant. The author's conclusion in all these is that it works very well in low myopia, and this is in clinical ophthalmology for moderate myopia across a US FDA clinical trial of 200 eyes and 114 patients, -3 to -6 with the average -4.61. And again, if you look at low myopia patients, what is standing out is safety being pretty high. When you look at the effectiveness, it is 94.5% achieved 20/20 or better at 6 months. When you're looking at predictability, it's a very highly predictable, least regression. You don't have regression in it as you can have in laser vision correction. And this is the hallmark that it is stable, predictable, and stable. So this is what, even for the low myopia, this is the data that is there. So out of these studies, the ICL lenses demonstrated accuracy, as I told you, predictability and stability of the refractive correction with achievement of high levels of UDVA and an excellent safety profile for patients of moderate myopia. Just to again look at these laser vision correction. So this is the data that was there. As you can see here that 52.3% gained one line. If you look at moderate, it is 56%. Smile was only 20.4. So this wavefront guided was 55. So this is comparable to the wavefront guided, but much better than the other ones. As of now, the patient satisfaction, if you go back and ask the patient after the procedure, what is your satisfaction? Did you do the right thing to get this procedure done, etc.? Even the laser vision correction comes to about 96 to 97%, but here it comes to 99.4%, which is that they feel that they have done the right thing, they got the procedure done. So very high, excellent patient satisfaction. So this is actually, to sum up, to say that EVO is a true surgical option for all eligible myopes. Because of the additive in nature, not a subtractive nature, superb quality of vision, excellent night vision, rapid recovery. There was the problem of night vision, so they have a larger optic lens also, so that issue is there. Low rate of adverse events. I would prefer to have a cataract, an early onset of cataract, and deal with it rather than have an ectasia. So that is the issue, that the adverse effects are low, and even if they are treatable. And it is removable by the surgeon. So that means it's a very powerful thing that you can tell the patient that I can take it out if it doesn't do well. So finally, this is all that I'll wish to say. What are the key takeaways from this? It has a long established history of 30 years of a highly biocompatible material, additive in nature, not subtractive in nature, patient satisfaction 99.4%, no problem in contrast, reversible lens implant, quick procedure and recovery. We still, most of us do it one eye. Dr. Bharti, I know he does both the eyes together. You can do it both the eyes together. That's up to you. I still prefer to do one eye the other day, the next day also to look at the vault, etc. And it does not induce dry eye and also gives UV protection. So friends, this is what I wanted to say as regards the 30 years of experience that is there, and what we feel as regards this being a wonderful technology for taking care of myopia and hyperopia, including astigmatism and maybe presbyopia now. Thank you very much for your kind attention.
Mahipal, thank you very much. This was a nice talk, 30 years of experience. We go directly. If there's are there any questions here in the room?
Sir, if size of the optical zone is increased, then is there any chances of optic capture?
उल्टा बोल रहे हो, बड़ा होगा तो ऑप्टिक कैप्चर क्यों होगा?
सर ऑप्टिक का साइज बड़ा होएगा
तो
उस
optic
टाइम
capture
पे
क्यों होगा?
सर कैप्चर होने के चांसेस है क्या?
Why? ऑप्टिक बढ़ रहा है ना, ओवरऑल साइज का तो
Do you mean the pupil size?
नो 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 ऑप्टिकल साइज इज इंक्रीज सर.
Why should it
No,
capture?
why should? I don't know.
There is a change
The volt
in
is normal, it should not get captured.
No, no.
We haven't seen any case of capturing.
नहीं capture.
Just a quick question to you, sir. What is the lowest diopter of ICL that you implanted in all these 30 years? I think that speaks of the entire gamut of the myopia that you've been doing.
So I think the lowest I have done is something like -3.
So I think that restores us that it is good for the entire spectrum of myopia. Thank you very much, sir, for your wonderful experience.
I think, Sonu, since the hall is full, that shows that there is lot more interest than when it came in, and it's a very acceptable modality today. So I personally feel that this can be done by any surgeon. The only problem is what I suggest to the star people is that not many people know about it so far. So actually, gold standard LASIK patient comes to you and then you tell him, no, you go for an ICL, so there is some form of a resistance. The patient should actually come asking for an ICL. So that solves a lot of problems.
My